a little bit of science, and a little bit of math.
It's all those. But it is possible. I mean, this is what actuaries do. This is what insurance companies do every day. They model what are expected claims going to be, and then what will it be with this change, and what will be with that change, and will it be net positive or net negative. So it is possible. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is we're spending quite a bit of money, $4.6 billion. Are we doing the difficult but doable analysis to determine if what we're spending is actually saving us money or costing us money?
I think what we're trying to do is ensure that health outcomes for the members are improved. So whether or not it is doing skin testing pilots with our folks, with our friends at AG or IDOT for the folks who work outside a lot more. Well, if we get a 10% positivity rate, meaning you need to go see a doctor and there's more testing that needs to happen, I cannot model how much I saved, but what I can tell you is that with 10% of positivity rates coming back for more assessment, inevitably, logic will tell me I've probably helped save somebody's life.
Okay. I guess what I'm humbly suggesting is that maybe it's time for Illinois to start doing what other businesses do, which is actually do some of the difficult analysis on some of these programs. I mean, I'm sure there's absolute examples where we are achieving great healthcare outcomes for our folks, and I'm sure there's other times where maybe we're just wasting the taxpayers' money. But in the aggregate, I mean, I think it needs to be said. And this, look, you just deal with the laws that are passed. So this isn't anything about you or CMS or anybody else. But you get hit with 55 mandates in 5 years. Our costs are now $4.6 billion, up 10.6%. Well, those same mandates put Health Alliance out of business in my district. 800 employees, no longer state taxpayers. Some have moved out of state. Maybe they found another job. Maybe they're somewhere else. But we lost that entire business because of mandates. And it's breaking the bank, and it's starting to become a significant issue. And I would also submit that in this, and you're not the insurance committee, but for private pay, we only have one insurance vendor for most of Illinois in the portal. One. That's what we're down to with all these mandates. And yet, with all the mandates, we're still at 10.6% increase here. It's double that in the private sector, and we only have one person out there. Now, I do want to talk to you about something that is back within your purview also on this.
Senator Rose, can I interrupt 1 second? Senator Murphy in the chair.
Thank you. I respect you, so I'm not going to get upset about this, but I don't want to hear anybody ever say that the migration of getting rid of Health Alliance was easy or fun, because it has been a disaster. I'm the one who gets the frontline phone calls. Your team has helped. There's no doubt, and I do not want to take away from your team that has helped. But when they went out of the market and people got stuck with basically one option in most of my area, and you got a guy that gets on the kidney transplant list, but guess what? They're not in network. And then we got to call your office. I do not consider that a smooth transition. Now, on some macroeconomic scale, if you migrate 90% of the people and 10% of the people are up a creek without a paddle, I guess you can say it was a success. But that 10% has cost my office tons of time and your office tons of time and lots of heartache and heartburn in between. So I think we just need to understand, and I will repeat again, and our retiree population in most places only has one option for trail. Actually, all options. They only have one. That is not good there's not a good health outcome to only have one option. I cannot believe that in this day and age, we're not providing choice to our members. And I also think that maybe, call me crazy, if we're spending $4.6 billion in one sector of our budget, that's a big percentage of our overall budget. Not quite 10%, but getting close to it. Maybe it's time we start doing some of those regression analysis to see if the spend is worth the outcome, and if the health outcome is actually there. I say that as respectfully as I can, we have tussled in the past. I hope this tone is not coming away as they have in the past.
No, not
But
at all,
it's-
sir.
It's time for us to do some serious, difficult work to see where we can bring this down. Thank you.
We always remain, at this point, we have a polite rapport, and I do appreciate that, and we'll keep that. I would like to contextualize a few things that you said. Some of them I'm just going to flat out disagree, and we'll deal with that. When we start talking about any sort of, I don't call them mandates, I call them changes to the law. During that same period, that's what they are to me. During that same period, the same body is saying, CMS, I was raked over the coals 10 ways to Sunday about hiring timelines. And so in lockstep with logic, you tell us to fix the hiring timelines. These people sitting behind me do it. And of course, that means on his end, he's got 10,000 or 15,000 more folks that during the same time frame that you're using, we have to consider. And as a point of data, when we hire someone, on average, the folks that we've hired over the last few years, they're bringing about 1.3 dependents with them. So we're not actually like tripling or doubling. I actually thought we would triple or double with the increase in the workforce. So it's about 1.3 people. As it relates to Health Alliance, they made an independent decision to exit. They had more clients than us. Certainly, I acknowledge we were their largest client, but we're the largest client of Delta Dental in Illinois. If they went out of business, right, and not necessarily the only. You had nothing to do with them going out of business. My point is all these same mandates that are raising your costs for the taxpayers is what put Health Alliance out of business. All those same mandates that hit you, hit them, actually more because the state of Illinois tends to exempt itself from a lot of its mandates. So you got hit with 55. I can't imagine what they got hit with, but that's what put them out of business. That's not you guys. You just had to respond to the chaos. Understood. I will say, certainly our job is to make sure your office doesn't have to deal with some of the challenges if there are challenges when it comes to benefits. And our job is to make sure we answer those calls. Every time you've ever sent a constituent matter, we will absolutely address.
Your team's been great on that. I acknowledge that.
Thank you. But moving 60, yesterday we sat in COGFA, your colleague, Rep. Kaler said he had a surgery. He was Health Alliance. He had a surgery scheduled late June. He had 0 issues. He said that on the record. And he's one of the 63,000 or so. But we did not hear widespread challenges. We were proactive. We went in. We knew we were looking at surgeries. We were looking at people who may have been in continued care. So we implemented, and so respectfully, I do believe that we executed something that we got 3 months' notice on. We turned it on a dime, and I'm extremely proud of how our team responded.
Well, the transparent list was a disaster. But listen, I'm more focused on the future. I want to, again, I think it's time we look at this 4.67 and actually spend some money to hire some consultants to do some serious regression analysis on some of this. And I also think that the next time we do a group employee retiree, the retiree benefit plan, people deserve more than one option. It's just not right. It's just not right. And I would bet if you pulled 100% of people, and right now even on our remaining group health, I mean, regular employee, we're down to very few options. So I've said my piece. I do respect you. I thank your team for taking all the calls they've taken. Sometimes they're heated when people are yelling at me. It tends to go downhill, and I will apologize to some extent, but it's as one of the highly concentrated state employee communities, which my district is, just like Springford would be, when you have a change like this, it hits us. And I was a lot nicer to you than your predecessor when she tried to tell me everything was fine. So we'll leave it at that.
Well, I've been here over 3 years. We're moving forward.
Right.
Thank you.
And Senator Sims is back in the chair, moving forward.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Sims back in the chair. Senator Rose, you're done. Senator Villanueva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. my mind is a little boggled because I just heard Senator Rose says he wants to spend some money, and I don't know how to react to that.
We need to get Mays in here and play the
Spend
lottery.
money to save money.
Okay, I heard wrong.
Context is everything.
We
did
have
have some
truly
questions.
gone off the rails. I'm sorry. We truly gone.
I think we've been off the rails, but going to try to bring it back. Director, thank you for the information that you provided us in your opening remarks, as I think it's very important to note that it does take a long time to crack issues like, in terms of hiring and going from 269 days. And again, that isn't every single position, it's different positions. There are some positions, that take a while longer. To 93 days is a big deal. I think it's a huge deal. So I want to congratulate you on that. And obviously I know that the goal is to continue to do more and more, because we know as a collective body that that's been a big barrier for employment for people to be able to get access to good quality paying state jobs, and also be able to, help their families and their communities. Like, we understand the impact that has. I'm going to ask you, because you already know where this is going. Of the totality of state employees, what is the population of Latino employees in the state of Illinois right now?
So we're just under 8% Latino employees.
And you know what my response to that is going to be.
We need to improve that.
Yes, significantly.
Yep.
When I'm here as a representative of the Latino caucus in a state that is basically almost a fifth Latino, and our percentage of state employees is 8%, like, we're doing a disservice to a fifth of the state of Illinois. Now, these are not all Spanish speakers. Again, I'm fully bilingual, and sometimes, throw a little bit of Italian and French into the mix too. But when we don't have the appropriate personnel to actually not just represent the community, but serve the community, like, we're still doing a disservice to them. What are the plans that you're continuously focusing on? Like, what are you, I know that you've been doing a lot, but what is the future? Like, are there future plans? What does the future look like to try to get and increase those numbers?
So I fully acknowledge, as we've said, during the tenure of my directorship, and even as recently as earlier or late last fall, it is our goal to do better. Part of it is we have experienced a very unique time frame with that community. I think that also will continue to have trouble effects. That won't affect what we do, whether or not it is our Latinx Employee Council, where we are constantly engaging the community. We've expanded partnerships. We are in the community. We have been on largely Latino or Spanish-speaking radio. It continues to be a challenge of the structure of state government. While we do have the ability to move positions outside of Sangamon County, the reality is that it is sometimes the work is just actually where it is, and that may not be where that community lives. And also, I will say it has to be a culture shift to my colleagues. Are you willing to move positions around? That's in the micro. In the larger discussion, how we get new Latino representation in state government also requires the current Latinos, each one bring one, teach one, bring it along. So it is shared. We will do our part and continue moving forward. If I don't know that I have anything different other than what we have done, whether or not it's 150 events throughout the entire state, it's continuing to deepen our relationships. We've also, honestly, since Senator Rose who left, he talked about my predecessor. We have 10x spend specifically in the Latino community to be able to get the sorts of increases we're doing. We've addressed bilingual pay. We have a language access plan on our website, completely there. We have YouTubes that explains how to fill out the application in Spanish. You still have to spend it. In other languages too, but you still have to. The application remains in English for clear reasons. We will continue to use what we have done, and we continue to listen to whether or not it's you, the rest of the caucus, and our community members to say, have you tried this?
I appreciate that response because I think I've never been under the impression that it's solely your responsibility. I think it takes all of us in order to fix the systematic issues of our government. But I wanted to bring that up because, again, I think for accountability purposes and consistency purposes in terms of these conversations, and also because your agency is the gatekeeper of state government and the jobs in state government, whether you're accessing through DCFS, or HFS, like any of the other state agencies, like you have to go through CMS in order to get access to a state government job. And I appreciate the work that you're continuously doing. What I don't appreciate is that and I know that there have been some changes in terms of your leadership, and it's not that I don't appreciate it, but what is your plan to make sure that your leadership team is reflective of the population of the state of Illinois?
Thank you for that. I'm really proud of what my leadership team looks like. It is very intentional. If there is executive and senior and overall, you're going to give me those numbers. Tell us, all right. There we go.
Yes,
And
thank you.
what-
Sarah,
But before you get started, we still have 4 agencies to go. We are behind on getting to the floor, so we do need to start bringing our testimony to a close.
sure. Sarah Curley, Chief Administrative Officer, and Senator, I'm also happy to provide you the information in writing. But we have seen an increase both in our all CMS staff, our CMS non-exempt leadership PSA, SPSA staff, as well as our exempt staff, even with some recent departures. We also have additional kind of key leadership. I'm sorry. Yep. We are at, so with our Hispanic Latinx population, with the CMS as a whole, we have seen a 1.25% increase where we are still under 5% there despite adding 13 employees who identify as Hispanic Latinx. An addition of 6 employees in that the senior leadership, which is an increase over the broad population, but still under 5%, and an increase of 1 additional exempt employee, which brings our exempt representation of employees who identify as Hispanic Latinx at just under 7% at CMS.
And one additional hire that we've made at the executive level is Eric Colon, our Chief Asset Management Officer. All property management runs through him.
Okay. Again, my hope is that we're continuously moving towards goals, and this is not to be adversarial. We've had this conversation before, but in the same vein, I would be remiss to not continuously bring this up because, again, I'm not here representing just myself. I'm here representing a whole community. And the reality is there are still barriers, and we still need to work on figure out how to remove those barriers to make sure people have access to, again, good government jobs. And at the end of the day, yes, we're working towards them, but I want to make sure that you all know that I'm not going anywhere. Thank you.
We consider you one of our partners in this work. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Villanueva. Senator Lewis, thank you for that. Senator Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Director, first I want to say you have an excellent team. I want to recognize Dana Storger for being an excellent customer service representative of your institution. So I just want to make sure I say that up front. It's my understanding the state has an actuarial budget impact modeling company that does the modeling itself. Is that on your understanding as well?
So we have relationships with 2 consultants, Siegel and Deloitte, our modeling is chiefly done by Colin Brewer and his team, and then they will check his math, so to speak.
So I've watched the health benefits plan evolve over the last decade and a half, and I'll just say that I've never seen so many people transform their lives from the wellness plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield to GLP-1 medicines. I'll just say that I think it's phenomenal. You had answered Senator Rose's question about not being able to provide an analysis as to the cost-benefit analysis of certain prescription medications. It's my understanding that the Siegel Company has the ability to conduct an annual health plan cost trend study that models the Aon approach. I just think that there's probably a very definitive cost justification. And I'll use Well on Target, for example. You offer Well on Target through Blue Cross Blue Shield to government workers that allows them to have access to gym benefits across the state of Illinois. I think that's phenomenal. But I think if Siegel models off of Aon's, you'll see a cost benefit that's advantageous to our state. And it'd be nice to see that answer.
Sure. So we'll investigate. My concern, well, one, our structure is we have both a self-insured and a fully insured. We're a hybrid model. On fully insured plans, we actually don't get any claims data. So I don't know. You can go to the doctor all the time or none of the time. I don't know. So while we remain in a hybrid situation, Siegel's ability, do I trust the veracity of the amount of information I can give? I can't give necessarily a full view of our membership lives today. In the future, as we move to self-insured, we will investigate. I just want to make sure whatever data we present and whatever we're asking someone to do lives in truth and not necessarily completely.
Senator Rose and I normally agree on some, but disagree on a lot of different points here in the General Assembly.
Same.
Okay, good. Well, you guys, the attire is resembling, which is great. I love that too. But he did bring up something about healthcare plans, and so the relationship between the healthcare plan and the institution, the healthcare organization, there has been some disruption. I will say Blue Cross Blue Shield, HMO, and their relationship with the Advocate Aurora healthcare system has shut out families, at least in the south suburbs of Chicago, from having access to normal care providers, whether that be your pediatrician or PCP. Whether you're influenced, and you do have a significant amount of influence in that. I just hope that we can work on that, and that hopefully next time you and I can have a conversation prior to this meeting versus me having to ask you questions directly here on the stage.
Understood. One thing I think it's worth noting, I mentioned in my opening remarks, we retired like $5 billion worth of debt. It is hard. I said it yesterday, and Senator Lewis heard me. There are people who don't want to do business with us in Illinois. I think we have turned that ship. So when we start talking about some of the health plans that maybe are not in our mix, it's because there was a long time we didn't pay our bills. We pay our bills now. And so when we go out to follow the procurement process and re-procure, my hope is for healthy competition. I want everybody who's in the mix to pursue our business. But we've had about 7 years of paying our bills, and so hopefully that outlay will change. That could be some of the challenge with why some of the other players are not in our pond.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Director.
Thank you, Senator Hastings. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. I just, in essence of time, I want to just commend you on getting that hiring down. That is so important to all the rest of the state's business. It's on. But I did want, and I also want, as you're going through those procurement systems, if there's an issue, please let us know, because we know that there's some problems with procurement. So we have to let us know so that we can help you do what you need to do. Additionally, healthcare is in a crisis in this country. And so, of course, it's going to go down to the level of rural healthcare particularly, and in other areas it's going to impact your ability to find providers and contract and all those kinds of things. So my question is, I heard you say that you were going to bring on 3 positions, but
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know what your total head count is.
Sure. My my authorized head count is 915. I have 817 in butts and seat today. We have 66 positions that are in flight, in process, which we expect an applicant will start by the close of session or the close of the fiscal year. That would leave us with approximately 30 vacancies, or about 3.5% by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank. And I too want, I see your staff now all the time at job fairs, other places, so I know that the effort is there to try and bring on and recruit all kinds of employees. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Also, again, Director, piggybacking on the procurement discussion, you know where I stand on this issue. I don't want to take up additional time today talking about that, but know that it is an issue that we are paying particular attention to, and I know how much you care about this issue as well. We're looking forward to those discussions about improving our procurement system, because it's just as you just mentioned, There are folks who didn't want to do business with the state of Illinois because we were not paying our bills on time. There are other folks who don't want to do business with the state of Illinois because it is too difficult to do business with the state of Illinois. And until we rectify that situation, we're going to have this continuing cycle. So I appreciate your comments here today. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Seeing no further questions, we appreciate your presentation. I look forward to talking to you soon. Members, again, as I outlined a moment ago, we have 4 additional presentations this morning. These presentations stand between us and going to the floor for session. So when we get to the end of the day and you are tired because we're still on the floor, remember that we are going over today. The Illinois retirement systems are up next. Senate Bills 4141, Senate Bill 4157, and Senate Bill 4158. State employee retirement system, the state university retirement system, and the teacher retirement systems. Mr. Blair, you want to lead us off, or Suzanne? Who's going to lead us off?
Sure, I can go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Good morning, Chair Sims and members of the committee. I'm Suzanne Mayer, and I'm the Executive Director of the State University's Retirement System in Champaign, Illinois. The State University's Retirement System administers death, disability, retirement, and survivor benefits for approximately 260,000 of our members across all of our community colleges and public universities in Illinois. We oversee over $30 billion in assets across 2 defined benefit plans, a core defined contribution plan, and a supplemental deferred compensation plan. And annually, we pay out approximately $3.3 billion in benefits to our members. At the end of fiscal year 25, we were approximately 47.1% funded, with defined benefit plan assets of $25.4 billion, liabilities of $53.9 billion, and unfunded liabilities of $28.5 billion. We're here today to request the annual required state contribution for fiscal year 2027. As you know, Illinois law requires that the state contribute a minimum amount each year in order for the system to reach a funded status of 90% by the end of fiscal year 2045. So pursuant to this process, the certified state contribution for SURS for fiscal year 27 is $2,366,144,000. This amount increased approximately $47 million from last year, and that's in large part due to how the statutory funding formula is structured. The normal cost of this is approximately $442.9 million, and the remaining amount is to reduce the unfunded liability of the system, and that's approximately 70 to 80% of the contribution each year goes towards paying down that unfunded liability. We appreciate your willingness to appropriate the full certified statutory contribution in recent years, and again this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mayer. Appreciate it. And Secretary Blair.
Thank you, Chairman Sims and Spokesman Rose and members of the committee. My name is Tim Blair. I'm the Executive Secretary of the State Retirement Systems, which is 3 separate retirement systems for state employees, judges, and legislators. Appreciate the opportunity to address you today. We've provided the committee with some basic information on the recent financial condition of the systems and some basic actuarial data. So I'll just hit some very high-level highlights. Our active members among the 3 systems total 69,000 employees, state employees, members of the judiciary, and legislators. We pay monthly benefits totaling $315 million to 82,000 retirees, survivors, and disability recipients. At the end of FY25, our combined funded ratio was 47.2%, with system assets of $29.2 billion and accrued liabilities of $61.9 billion. Our certified contribution for FY27 that was included in the budget book is $2.975 billion for all 3 systems. We're a little different in that we actually certify some of the debt service due on the 2003 bond issuance. So if we back out the debt service, our certified state contribution is $2.844 billion. We also received money from general revenue and other state funds. We have payrolls that are paid from all of those for state employees. So our request for FY27 is just over $2 billion from GRF and $826 million from other state funds. It's about a 66-34 split. This is an increase of $68.3 million from FY26, $47.6 million in GRF, and $20.7 million in other state funds. Just a quick update on the COLA buyout program. I know time is short. We have to date paid 5,347 members, more than $692 million for the COLA portion of the two buyout programs. And according to our actuaries, SCRS liabilities have been reduced by an estimated $740 million, and the state FY27 contribution is $50 million lower than it otherwise would have been without the buyout programs. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Director Rupnick.
Good morning, Chairperson, members of the committee. I'm Stan Rupnick. I am the Executive Director and Chief Investment Officer of the Teachers Retirement System. As of June 30, 2025, TR serves more than 462,000 members. 175,000 of those are active members, 154,000 inactive members, and 119,000 annuitants. As of the end of February, we were slightly under $84 billion in assets. In addition to our defined benefit plan, we do operate a supplemental savings plan, which continues to grow with 14,000 members currently who have contributed over $80 million to the plan. With regard to the buyout programs Tim just mentioned, we continue to offer that to our members. We have distributed $1.3 billion to date through those programs, reducing our long-term liabilities by $1.9 billion and reducing this year's contribution by $125 million. As it goes to benefits, we pay approximately $8.5 billion in benefits. We paid $8.5 billion last year. Average annual benefit was $67,698, providing retirement income to all of our retirees and their survivors. Looking ahead, again, our contribution is set by statute. The certified state contribution for fiscal 2027 is $6.594 billion. Your continued support and the combined with our strong investment returns as of late was 9.7% net of fees in fiscal 25 and 6.1% for the first 6 months of the current fiscal year has moved our funded ratio up to 47.8. I do want to mention we remain supportive of the governor's long-term plan to reach 100% funding by fiscal 48, which will continue to reduce long-term costs to the state and support the system for future generations. We appreciate the continued support with the General Assembly and the Governor's Office in advancing this progress, and we thank you for your time and commitment to the educators of Illinois.
Thank you so much, Director. Senator Rose.
Thank you. My question is for SURS. I believe that's you. Do you make the laws of the state?
No.
Who does?
General Assembly.
So why did you guys spend all last year trying to backdoor my bill to help Eastern Illinois University? Even after it passed with bipartisan, I think unanimous support, with the chairman of Pension Committee, Martwick, as my co-sponsor, with Representative Kiefowit in the House as my co-sponsor, you went around my back and didn't even have the common courtesy to talk to me about the concerns of the bill, which there aren't any, because at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers' money. If I put $500,000 in your right pocket, it's no different than I put $500,000 in your left pocket. And in this case, it wasn't even the state taxpayers' money, it was the EIU student money. Because you know why? They don't have any money. They don't have big pockets like the University of Illinois does. They don't have a foundation. They don't have private donations. They got the taxpayers and the students. So if we make a decision, if this General Assembly makes a decision,
Senator Rose,
you enforce it.
Senator Rose, let's do this. Director, how about?
I don't want to ever have you go around my back
Senator
again.
Rose, let's do this. Director, no need to respond. We will take this discussion offline. We want to keep the discussions here germane to the appropriation request. So no need to respond. We will take this offline.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, thank you for your presentation here today. Members, we've got Senate Bill 4087, the Illinois State Board of Elections. Director Bernadette Matthews and her team. Director, floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Sims, Vice Chair Murphy, Minority Spokesperson Rose, and members of the committee. My name is Bernadette Matthews, and I am the Executive Director of the Illinois State Board of Elections. I'm pleased to be here today with our Chief Fiscal Officer, Elena Gutselenko, and our Senior Policy Advisor, Brian Pryor, to present our fiscal year 2027 budget and appropriations request. The State Board of Elections is an independent state agency that assists the state's 108 election authorities in administering elections. The agency does not conduct elections or register voters. However, we provide statewide support in areas including the testing and certification of voting systems, training election judges, administering the Campaign Finance Act, maintaining the state's federally required voter registration database, providing cybersecurity expertise through our Cyber Navigator program, and administering grant funding to local election authorities. Our FY27 total budgetary request increased by approximately $6.5 million from our FY26 appropriation levels. This is primarily due to two reasons. The first, an increase of approximately $1.5 million in the Personal Property Tax Replacement Fund, that's Fund 802, for mandated election judge reimbursements that result from holding 3 scheduled elections in the upcoming fiscal year, as opposed to 1 election in the current fiscal year. And a GRF request increase of approximately $5 million. This request supports the following: increases in contractual services and other operational lines related to the ongoing technical modernization of our IT infrastructure and the start of the statewide voter registration database replacement project, as well as the purchasing of other technical software necessary to address audit findings, enhance the security of our systems and agency data, and improve the signature review process that's required during candidate objection petitions. The GRF increase also accounts for total costs associated with the administration of the 3 elections that are scheduled to be conducted in the upcoming fiscal year. This budget and appropriation request ensures that the State Board of Elections can continue our commitment to overseeing and supporting secure, transparent, and accessible elections across the 108 local election jurisdictions. Again, I'd like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to present this request today. We're happy to speak further to our agency's priorities and initiatives for the upcoming fiscal year and address any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Director. Questions from members of the committee? Senator Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today. I appreciate all you do for all of our 102 counties and our election authorities. I also want to say thank you to Brian for being here. I've worked with him on some legislation, and I didn't know if maybe that be a good time to comment a little bit on it, because Mr. Pryor, I know that there was that one audit finding, and one of the bills that we worked on was to try and alleviate that finding. And could you tell a little bit about what those bills were?
Certainly. So there's a whole host of bills that you carry for the State Board of Elections. In the Senate, you're our sponsor. In the House, I go to Democratic staff members for those same bills. So they're introduced by a Republican as well as a Democrat.
Mr. Pryor, you want to state your name? I think that'd be good.
Brian Pryor, Senior Policy Advisor, Illinois State Board of Elections.
Sorry,
Thank you. a lot of those bills are in response to trying to cure things such as audit findings that you have brought up. But one thing in particular that Bernadette mentioned in her opening remarks was related to the replacement of the Illinois voter registration system as one of our priority projects for the upcoming fiscal year. The bill that would be specifically in connection with improving the process for that replacement would be Senate Bill 3057 that deals with data standardization so that we can improve the outcomes and some of the data points that come out of the Illinois voter registration system.
Well,
So-
on that matter,
Certainly.
can you kind of explain what does that standardization mean? Just to define what that means so others can understand.
Certainly. So standardization in the context of Senate Bill 3057 kind of consolidates the data points that all election authorities and election vendors across the state would be required to produce, not the logic that goes into the development of those systems, nor additional outputs that those vendors could produce for those election jurisdictions. All we're looking for is to improve across all jurisdictions the information that's already statutorily required, either under state statute or federal statute.
Thank you. And I appreciate you helping to define that, because these are issues that I think need to be addressed. And I hope that we see them come into fruition. And then one other thing, I think it was mentioned about your increase. Your increase is because there's 3 elections coming up this next year. And can you just talk about how, for those that don't maybe understand, why we need that amount of money in order to run our elections, to reimburse them for the portion that you reimburse?
Of course. So for each election, the elections are run by the local jurisdictions, and there are a certain amount of election judges that must be assigned per precinct. And we do then reimburse the election jurisdictions, the county clerks, and the other boards of election commissioners for the election judges, what they're doing on election day. So those stipends, having to do that for the 3 elections, will increase that request versus this year where we only had a stipend request and reimbursement for the primary election that just passed.
And that also includes early voting as well.
It does, and a very extended early voting period.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Turner. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Director, with your staff. I had wanted to go into the weeds about all kinds of election things and have you explain integrity and all that, but I believe we may have an election omnibus, and I'm going to request you come back, and at that point in time, we'll go through that since we don't have the time here today. And particularly, I just, though, quickly, what's your coordination with Cook County and their pilot program now of what they're implementing for voter protection, integrity, and calculations? Are you coordinating with Cook County at all?
So generally, we coordinate with all the election authorities across the state on the programs that they're conducting, and we offer support in the form typically of what is available with federal funding to supplement those programs. Specifically speaking to Cook counties, I don't have a list of the programs we're supporting that way. Usually the funding is more routine. It would be related to the voter registration database that they locally maintain and its connection. As far as the general support of another program, I personally meet frequently with Cook and Chicago around elections. We talk through coordination, communication plans. We hear their issues. We also deploy teams for zone meetings across the state and also conferences where we are available to the election authorities, and we'll hear what they're doing and then seek to support them that way. If there is a particular question about a specific program that they're running, I'm happy to, if we receive that information, take a look and be able to speak exactly to what we have done activity-wise with Cook County.
Okay, so it's not a funding issue for them. It's a pilot program, and we'll discuss all that during a different forum. I just want to know, how many employees do you have in your department?
The authorized head count is 84, and we currently have 9 vacant positions.
I'm sorry, you have how many?
9 vacant positions, 84 is the authorized headcount.